It started with the note. Not the news, not the sirens, not the frantic whispers that swept through Boulder like a cold front. For me, it was always the note. I was retired then, an English teacher for 35 years, and words were my life. When the details of that ransom note started leaking, I devoured them. Every single word. The length, that was the first thing. 3 pages. 3 pages for a ransom note. Who writes 3 pages? A real kidnapper wants to be quick, efficient, terrifying. They want to get in, get out, get the money. They don't write a novella. This wasn't a demand, it was a performance. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, newspaper spread out, tracing the reported text with my finger. Mr. Ramsey, we have your daughter. The formality. The immediate address to the father. Then the demand, $118,000. Such a specific number. Not a round million, not $500,000. 118,000. It felt like a number pulled from somewhere, not conjured for a high-stakes abduction. A bonus, a debt, a specific amount from a bank account. It felt personal, not professional. Then came the foreign faction. That phrase. It hit me like a wrong note in a symphony. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. It was so clunky, so theatrical. Like something out of a bad spy novel. No real criminal organization, especially one sophisticated enough to execute a kidnapping in a wealthy neighborhood, would announce themselves with such a vague, almost apologetic, descriptor. It was an attempt to create an enemy where none existed, to point fingers outward. I kept going back to the language. The shifts in tone. One moment, it was menacing, if you alert the authorities, you will be executed. The next, it was almost polite, we respect your business. And then, the bizarre, almost parental advice, don't try to grow a brain, John. It was a jumble, a patchwork of different voices, different intentions. It lacked a singular, cohesive voice, which is what you'd expect from a unified group, or even a single, focused individual. It felt like someone trying on different masks, none of them quite fitting. The handwriting. That was another thing. The block letters. The way some words were capitalized, others not. The pressure of the pen. I'd spent decades grading essays, looking for patterns, for tells. This wasn't the confident, disguised hand of a professional. It was labored. It was an effort. It was someone trying very hard to not be recognized, but in doing so, revealing the strain of the disguise. I imagined someone hunched over, meticulously forming each letter, not out of practiced skill, but out of desperate concentration. And the paper. From the house. The pen. From the house. That detail, when it came out, solidified so much for me. A foreign faction, a professional kidnapping ring, they don't bring their own paper and pen. They use what's readily available in the victim's home. It was amateurish. It was sloppy. It screamed of convenience, of haste, of an internal origin. It wasn't a detail that supported a grand, external conspiracy, it shattered it. The whole thing, the more I thought about it, the more I read, the more I listened to the endless speculation on the news, felt like a desperate improvisation. A frantic attempt to create a narrative, to buy time, to deflect. The note wasn't meant to be believed as a genuine ransom demand. It was meant to be a distraction. A very elaborate, very flawed distraction. I started to see it as a script. A poorly written one, but a script nonetheless. The author was trying to direct the scene, to tell the police, the family, the world, what had happened. But the script was full of plot holes. The demand for $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a detail that tied the note directly to the family's finances, to their intimate knowledge. A foreign faction wouldn't know that. The instruction to not discuss this with anyone. Yet, the note was found hours after the initial 911 call. The timeline was all wrong. The note was discovered *after*. The police were already there, after the house was no longer a private scene. It was as if the note was written to explain something that had already happened, not to prevent something from happening. It was a post facto explanation, not a preemptive demand. I remember one afternoon, I was in my study, surrounded by books, and I picked up a pen and a pad of paper. I tried to replicate the block letters. It was harder than it looked to maintain consistency, to keep the disguise. My hand cramped. It made me think of the author, the pressure they must have been under, the fear, the adrenaline. It wasn't a calm, calculated act. It was born of panic. The note's final lines, victory. SBTC. What did that even mean? Serve God, be true, conquer? Saved by the cross? It was another layer of obfuscation, another attempt to sound mysterious, to add a touch of the dramatic. But it just added to the confusion, to the sense that this was all a charade. A desperate, clumsy attempt to create a narrative that would lead investigators away from the truth. My experience, living through those weeks and months in Boulder, watching the media circus, listening to the endless theories, it all coalesced around that note. It was the key. It was the lie that tried to tell a story, but in its very telling, it revealed the truth. The truth wasn't in the words it spoke, but in the words it failed to speak, in the inconsistencies, in the amateurish execution. The note told no truth about a foreign faction. It told no truth about a kidnapping. It told no truth about an external threat. What it did tell, inadvertently, was a story of desperation, of panic, of an attempt to cover up a tragedy that had already occurred within those walls. It was a shield, poorly constructed, meant to deflect blame and buy time. For me, the arguments closed the moment I understood that. The note wasn't a genuine communication from a criminal. It was a desperate, internal fabrication. It was a cry for help, disguised as a threat. It was a confession, hidden in plain sight, in its very absurdity and its glaring inconsistencies. The author, whoever they were, was not a seasoned criminal. They were someone in profound distress, trying to weave a tale that would explain away the inexplicable. And in their attempt to mislead, they left a trail of breadcrumbs that, for me, led directly back to the heart of the home. The note, in its elaborate facades, inadvertently spoke volumes about the truth it desperately tried to conceal.